All right, the mainstream media going nuts after the White House announces plans to scale back on televised press briefings.
Represent the American people insofar as we're doing our constitutionally protected jobs of journalism. The White House, of course, and the president were elected by the American people. So I'm not in a tug of war about who's representing whom, but what we are advocating for is the Constitution and the protections that are provided by that.
All right, so the big question is this really about informing Americans, or is it about a lack of national TV exposure for the media? Here to debate, Democratic strategist and former Missouri State Representative Don Calloway, also contributor at The Hill and author of Government Gone Wild, Kristen Tate. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Don, we're going to start with you. I guess Democrats are accusing President Trump of playing favorites with the media and trying to dial back some of the negative tone. But couldn't you kind of argue that President Obama did the same thing, especially with conservative outlets?
No, I think that President Obama and all of his press secretaries pretty much had open access. And of course, you know, these days, one thing that we can all agree on is that politics is the new pop culture. And reporters are certainly part of that. That's probably for the worse. They're the new rock stars right alongside with the elected officials. So there probably is, I can agree, some degree of personal aggrievement here. However, the president and this administration have kind of fueled that, for better or for worse, by limiting access to White House briefings, by holding these closed-door gaggles, and really moving things toward a more favoring various networks that they agree with or don't agree with. So we have, and part of that is because of some of the disarray inside the White House comm shop, and we've seen some shuffling and rearrangements with replacing Sean Spicer, and so we kind of see some disarray there. But I think that the reporters probably have some real complaints here.
Yeah, Kristen, you say that this is about one of your arguments is that this is about egomaniac reporters upset that they're not on camera every day. But I also think that this is a lot to do with it is that when you don't have television, you don't have a televised press briefing. No cameras are bad for TV. I mean, it's just bad for the network in general.
Well, yeah, sure. But I mean, look, these media reporters say that we need to televise these press conferences for transparency, but this has arguably been one of the most transparent administrations of recent decades. I mean, Trump can be 100% transparent by speaking directly to the people on social media and through his speeches. This is really about egomaniac reporters just trying to have their silly partisan gotcha questions televised. They are doing everything in their power to try to take down Trump and his administration, and I think this has little to do with transparency and everything to do with reporters wanting to filter Trump's message. I mean, if the mainstream media really wanted transparency and to get information out there, why did they refuse to air Trump's speech to the American people in Iowa last Wednesday? I mean, Fox News was the only network that aired that. MSNBC, CNN, and CNBC didn't, and I think that speaks volumes.
And actually, yeah, Don, I want to go to you on that same thing. I will give you that the president at times has made his life probably harder than it needs to be with some of the tweeting and stuff like that. But I will also say that when I watch CNN, it is appalling how no matter what the story, they do figure out a way to make it seem negative. The headline at the bottom of the screen is always something bad. Can you really blame them for wanting to kind of scale that back a little bit?
Well, every network has media bias, and you know, we've all decided how we want to spin these things in this angle. I would argue with Kristen that the reason that the mainstream media, by the way, Fox News being a part of the mainstream media, didn't cover the Iowa speech is because it was effectively a non-substantive campaign event. What did he go there to talk about? Was he actually campaigning for candidates, or is he just used to going to friendly audiences these days?
They also didn't cover him. I mean, he gave a speech, I think, overseas when he was in the Middle East, and that speech wasn't even covered. That blew me away.
This is all about
the media
politics.
doesn't have an obligation to cover every speech. They've covered him widely throughout this administration, and I think done a pretty good job. The question on the table is, does this administration need to do more to open up access to the media? And we still, by writ large, get our media through television.
Okay. So. Kristen, last word.
This is all about politics, and to those people who are melting down over this, I want to point out that this is nothing new. We have had non-televised press briefings in previous administrations and Previous press secretaries have come out and said not having cameras in the room at times can make the discussions more policy focused. This is nothing new. All the outrage is just to make
8
Trump
days straight,
look bad.
Kristen?
Guys, all right, we do have to go. We are going to run out of time. I do appreciate both you guys coming on this morning.
Thanks,
you.
Rob. Thanks,
all right, Heather,
Kristen.
over to you.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Fox News did cover that Iowa speech. We carried it live. Well, the former pharmaceutical executive once called the most hated man in America, right there, he is heading to court today. Martin Shkreli facing fraud charges after sparking nationwide outrage.